Welcome back to the Next Is Now podcast. Today, episode 6, we're changing pace a little bit and beginning our prep preview series. Through this series, we'll zoom in on a collection of the nation's top programs to discuss the season, discuss the state of the NIBC, talk a little bit about program history, how recruiting has changed, and much more. To begin the series, we have Pat Holmes, the head coach of Lumiere, joining us. After finishing in 7th place in the NIBC last year and failing to qualify for Geico, the Lakers bring in 7 new names, led by their high-profile perimeter prospects, all of which whom are 2025s. Jalen Harrelson, Darius Adams, Chuck Love, Jerry Easter, and Melvin Bell. The Lakers graduate Gus Yalden, Zayd Lowery, and Caleb Glenn, among others, all of the 3 of which are headed to high major programs this year. But the pure talent and depth of this year's roster is undoubtedly at another level. Outside of the highly touted 2025 guys, Lumiere also has Steven Solano and Ace Buckner, both of which fill big needs for this roster and have rose steadily over the last few months. And it seems like both of them could be in for a recruitment bump heading into their senior campaigns. Another front court name to keep tabs on for them will be 2026's Jonas Muya, who the staff is very excited about long term. Looking forward to getting into it all as Pat Holmes and the Lakers look to make a big leap to get back to Geico this year. Welcome, Coach Pat Holmes, onto the Next Is Now podcast. I'm excited to have you here starting off our prep preview series heading into the 2023-2024 season. Obviously, been a bit of a long summer, been out on the road a ton, but how's it feel to get back in the gym now, get things rolling?
No, first off, Max, thanks for taking the time to talk with me this morning, man. I know you've been grinding all spring and summer. I know we bumped into you a couple times at Fort Wayne, out and about on the trail. So thanks for all you do for high school basketball. But no, it's great, man. We're just in the middle of week 4 here with our guys. They all moved back to campus on the 13th of August. We got a really talented group, right? We got brought in 7 new guys this spring and summer, 2 guys in the 24 class, 5 guys in the 25 class, in addition to 2 returners that we had. So really excited about the group we have.
For sure. And gets into my first question I wanted to ask. Looking back to last season, obviously, last season had its challenges, and now this season's roster is just getting into this early part of the preseason. What do you think are the biggest differences between the 2 rosters?
Yeah, I think last year, we just didn't have enough guys, and that's on me as a coach, making sure we had a roster in place to compete at the national level when you're playing IMG, Montverde, Sunrise, all these guys. And the frustrating thing is, we were 19-10, but 8 of those games came down to the last 2 minutes of the game. I think some of that was we didn't have put our guys in the best position to succeed, but also we had some tired legs because we were playing 5-6 guys.
Totally.
So this year we got 9 guys that can really go, and we got really good depth. Two great front court guys, and Steve Solano and Jonas Muya, and then our perimeter is very, very talented. We got really good guard play, really good wing play, and a lot of interchangeable guys. But guys that know how to play, guys who can make shots, and guys that can create plays. Which, as you know, when you got really talented players, makes it look like we know what we're doing as coaches.
No doubt. Wanted to talk about, obviously, bringing 7 additions like you asked. Wanted to start at the top with Jalen Harrelson. Obviously, one of the top prospects in the country, and in my opinion, like a super unique player at 6'7". And Lumiere has had a ton of success with guards over the last few years, but none quite like Harrelson in terms of all the different things that he does. So just from watching him over the last few years and getting him in the gym these last few weeks, what do you think makes him so dynamic?
Yeah, I think first off, just starts with who he is as a kid, right? I mean, he is a humble human being. College coaches have been calling to ask about him. I just give him the example about how, in the dining hall, he's cleaning up after people, right? He's wiping down tables, pushing in chairs, right? Living our standards as a school and a program. And that comes from, coming from a very strong, tight-knit family. So he's just first and foremost a great human being and a great kid. And that translates to how he conducts himself on the court. Guys like playing with him. He's a funny kid, easygoing kid. But on the court, he can be a killer too, right? And we want him to be a killer all the time because he can create his own shot. I think a really underrated part of his game is his ability to see the floor and pass. And he's not a guy that dominates the ball. Right? He makes the right play 99 out of 100 times, and he's trying to make the right play 100 out of 100 times. So he's just a guy that makes people better. He's a joy to coach. And he has a lot of ability because he is 6'7". He moves extremely well. He can pass. He can shoot. He can dribble. He can get to his spots. So now it's just helping him as he grows and develops over these next 2 years to help get him ready for college about, just taking it to another level, helping him find another level. But he's coachable. So he listens. He's a sponge. And he wants to get better.
Sliding within that backcourt now, a guy coming from the East Coast all the way to Indiana to play with you guys. Darius Adams, we got the chance. I know I watched a few games of his with you this year. Pete Shem, some big games against Cooper Flagg, played really well. Obviously a ton to be excited about, another one of the top guards in the country. But just from watching him this summer, these last few weeks, what do you think makes him so dynamic in kind of a different way than Jalen?
Yeah, no, I think people see Darius and they think just shooter. And that's no doubt a giant part of his game. And similar to Jalen, he's a humble kid who wants to work. He's not afraid to be told the truth. He wants to get better. He asks the right questions. But I think with Darius, as his, evolution as a player has kind of progressed here the last couple of years, he's letting his shooting kind of set up the rest of his game, right? Where he can really shoot it from deep. He's a confident shooter. He's got a quick release. He's right up there with some of the best shooters we've had in our program. But he's savvy with it too, right? He knows how to play out of a long closeout. He knows how to play out of a ball screen, right? He's not going to kill you with his speed, but he's shifty. He knows how to get to his spots. He knows how to use his body. With Darius, as with most of these young guys, it's like as his body continues to grow and develop and fill out, he's just going to get that much more explosive, that much quicker. And be able to finish through contact at a higher level. But same thing, man. He's a confident player, great shot maker, great creator, and just a savvy guy who knows how to play the game.
Totally. And I think heading into an off season, obviously in the NIBC right now, there's so much roster shift, and I think a lot of schools and a lot of people just from the outside point of view think it's just about stocking talent time and time again. But how do you think those two players, two of the top players in the country, not just 5-star guys, but how do you think they mesh together and play off each other?
Yeah, no, it's funny because when we're recruiting guys and trying to bring kids into our school, it's like we tell them, hey, these are the guys that we're talking to, right? And these guys all say they want to play with each other, right? So that's the beautiful thing. So we're up front with guys saying, hey, this is who's probably coming here. He wants to play with you. You want to play with him? They say yes. So these guys, they got to know each other at Elite 100 a little bit. Those two were at NBA Top 100 down in Orlando. They talked a little bit. And then, since they've been here, they've been developing a good chemistry. But that's our group as a whole, right? We got a very tight-knit group. But it's fun kind of knowing that guys are excited about playing with their teammates before they even get here.
No doubt. And different than those two guys, they've been names that people have known for about a year or two. Chuck Love is a guy that kind of has popped up this spring, late last season while he was playing in Nebraska. Now had a big summer with Mocan down in the UIBL. But what do you think? What did you guys like about his game, and what kind of player do you think he can kind of evolve into? Because it seems like he's still just at the beginning of his ascension.
Yeah, Chuck still looks like a boy. Right? That's the fun thing about this level, right? You're going to get kids that are 15, 16, 17, right? And you get them, they kind of look like boys. And then, you're with them as they mature, they get older and, head off to college. But Chuck, like I say, great family. Dad's obviously coach basketball. So he comes from a basketball family. And then, really strong, summer in terms of, what we loved about Chuck is obviously his shot making ability. He's got a smooth perimeter jump shot. He's got a great kind of 1-2 dribble pull up where he can get to his spots and elevate over the top of guys. But what I really loved about Chuck watching him this spring and summer was kind of on the defensive end, losing himself in team defense, being long, being active, going in there, getting defensive rebounds, being on the helpline, communicating if he's the low man, being active in gaps, trying to get deflections, trying to rotate the block shots. So Chuck has a great understanding of other ways to impact the game. And, like our open gyms, he's been knocking down shots, but I like the fact that he's really flying to the offensive glass to get, tip dunks or other opportunities for a team. He's a guy that just wants to win, and it's evident with how he kind of carries himself on the court, but also, out in our community.
You talked about recruiting a little bit, and obviously it's something that's changed a ton these last few years, but what do you think are kind of the biggest things that have changed in terms of what your guys' offseason looks like now versus maybe 4 or 5 years ago?
Yeah, I think in terms of the high school recruiting landscape.
Yes.
Yeah, just trying to find kids that fit with our program, right? First off, we knew the 25 class was going to be very talented. So it's like, okay, we're going to concentrate a lot on the 25 class. In 24s, we brought in Ace Buckner and Steve Solano, both high-level players, great fits as well. But we try to identify kids to have them here for 2 years as much as possible. So we can work with them. It's like the perfect time range for them to be at our school, kind of away from home, and help them really understand our place and buy into this place and make it feel like, they're home away from home. But really just trying to find guys that fit us. And fitting us means, they're tough, they're great teammates. So how do they carry themselves when, things aren't going their way on the court? When they're on the bench, are they engaged, cheering and celebrating their teammates? And then from a skill set standpoint, shot making. That's something that we really prioritize. It makes our offense a whole lot easier when we can stretch the space the floor and make some shots from the perimeter. So shot making ability and playmaking ability. But we want guys that are easy to play with, guys that are confident enough that they can give the ball up, knowing that, the ball's going to come back and find them when it's the right time. But guys that want to win, the most important thing that we're trying to identify. And, it's not a perfect science. There's times where you get fooled, just like every level of basketball. But like I said, trying to find kids that want to get better, prioritize, team success over, individual accolades, because the individual accolades will come as the team does well.
Absolutely. Looking at Lumiere over the last few years, had guys like a Jalen Harrelson, who's a top 10 guy, and Jaren Jackson Jr., Isaiah Stewart, some of those guys who are very well known even before they get there, but also had guys like Jaden Ivey, Jordan Poole, Tiger Campbell, obviously some of those guys more local Indiana guys, but what goes into that process of identifying those guys really before they make their rise? And then obviously the development time you have them on campus helps, as you mentioned.
Yeah, I mean, some of it's relationships, right? Having relationships with, the travel ball coaches, right? And trusting their evaluations in their eyes, and having relationships with guys like yourself, Max, where trusting guys in the scouting world that see a kid as a freshman, sophomore, and say, hey, this kid's got a chance. Mm-hmm. But it's a case like Isaiah Stewart. Yeah, he was talented, but like I loved his motor, right? Like he just played harder than anyone else and always competed, and he never got tired, which is crazy for a guy that's like 6'9", 250 pounds. But like a guy like Jaden Ivey, I've known Jaden since he was 7. Right. And like with Jaden, he had all the physical attributes. He was quick. He was above the rim. Unbelievable first step. Guys couldn't stay in front of him. Now he had to learn how to kind of process the game a little bit, and instead of being an athlete, be a basketball player. So there's physical tools we look at, right? Size, athleticism, length, how quick, like the quick first step, but also just the stuff that he doesn't show in a stat sheet or, showing like just watching a kid's physical tools. Like, yeah, how are they as a teammate? Do they clean up the bench? Little things like that go a long way for us.
Absolutely. I wanted to talk a little bit about the NIBC as a whole. Obviously, you've had a few years of experience in the NIBC, and it feels like every year it's grown more competitive. There's more games on TV. There's more eyes. Just what do you think is the value of playing in the NIBC? Obviously, there's a ton, but just a few things that stand out.
Yeah, I think it's just helping these guys get ready for college, right? That's the biggest biggest thing for us. Like we get a lot of enjoyment as a school and coaching staff, like turning on the NCAA tournament and seeing our guys competing for a national championship, right? Or doing well in a conference tournament, or like our kid Ryan Mabry, right, who's at Miami of Ohio, being a all conference selection or all freshman selection at Miami of Ohio, right? So it's like that's the fun part for us. But I think it comes down in the NIBC, just the competition, right? That's what these guys are here for. They want to play against other high level players. From a coaching perspective, we like to play really competitive games, to see if we can cut it as coaches, against, the best of the best, Montverde, Sunrise, IMG, Oak Hill, all these guys, AZ Compass, just to name a few of the schools. It's just, you have to be ready, right? Like you got to be prepared. Like you got to have attention to detail. You got to know that you're going to be scouted. People are going to know your teams. People are going to know players' individual tendencies, and how can you adjust? So I think that's what the players love, knowing that if you don't bring it every single day, you're going to lose. Doesn't matter if it's the top team in the conference, bottom team in the conference. All these teams have 6, 7, 8 Division I players. And some of these guys are obviously future lottery picks. So what are you going to do in the preseason to separate yourself, to get yourself ready for that? But just the old adage, man, iron sharpening iron. And we say in our workouts and then in the games we play, it's helping these guys get ready for college. And I think that's the feedback that our players give us, and college coaches. I think college coaches love watching these games because it's, you're comparing apples to apples. It's like high level dude against high level dude. Who won, right? Like who won the individual matchup, who won the team matchup. But it's just getting these guys prepared for the next level.
You mentioned some of the competition. I wanted to ask, obviously each roster looks different year to year, but is there any specific program that's posed problems for you guys just over and over, you think?
Yeah, you know what? I think we had a good stretch there against Montverde, and they've taken it to us the last few years. I think they've won the last 6. So, they've really had our number. And then Sunrise, and those are kind of, Sunrise does a great job of being tough, being a blue collar program, kind of like we pride ourselves on. Obviously I know Luke Barnwell's not there anymore, but Kyle Lindstedt, I know he'll do a good job because he started the program, went off to college, and now is back. So those have kind of been 2 programs that have been, giving us issues the last 3 years. Last year we had a chance to beat Sunrise twice, and, both games came down to the final shot, and we just didn't make them. Mm-hmm. Montverde last year, they beat us pretty good the first time, and the second game we were close. I think it was like an 8-point game with 4 minutes left, but we turned it over 25 times. So that's the other beautiful thing about the NIBC. It's like you can't expect to beat these high-level teams when you're beating yourself. So I think from a program standpoint, those are the 2 that we're excited to compete against every year. But, I mean, IMG's been always really highly competitive matchups. AZ Compass has done a great job. Oak Hill, obviously, with the history there. And then the new addition of Brewster, I think that's kind of exciting, when you add a new team like that, just to get a feel for, they've been obviously the kings of the NEPSAC for a long time, but as they kind of chart or wade into these high school waters, what's that look like? Jason does a good job, but, I've never had to watch Brewster film before, because we never scouted them. So that'll be new for us, which is kind of exciting for our program.
Absolutely. Talking a little bit about the roster, you mentioned the depth of this year's roster. Who do you view as maybe an X factor in terms of if you guys are going to hit your ceiling of being what you think you really can be at the highest level? Who's a guy that you think needs to kind of come alive as the season plays out?
Yeah, no, I think our big guy, Steve Solano, right? Like he's kind of an underrated big guy.
Yeah.
A late bloomer, like a lot of these big guys. But Steve is 7 foot with a 7'3" wingspan, and he can run like a gazelle. Like he moves well for a 7-footer. He's got good hands. He had a very good summer, strong summer with expressions. And for him, it's like he's got a very high ceiling. Like he can go block shots at the top of the backboard. He can put pressure on the rim as a loud guy. He has shown the ability to hit a little 15-foot jump shot and then some pick-and-pop threes in our open gyms. But defensively, he's just really active.
Mhm.
He keeps on saying, "Coach, what do I need to work on to be elite?" Right. So he's got that mindset where he wants to work. But like defensively, I mean, he's our loudest communicator in the gym. But he gives us great rim protection and just great activity level on both ends of the floor. So I think he's kind of an X factor that's kind of under the radar because people know about, you know, our junior class, right? They know about Jalen, they know about Jerry, they know about Darius and Chuck and Melvin, like Billy, Danny Murray, right? Who's a returner for us. Like people know about our 25s, but our 24s and Steve Solano and Ace Buckner, I think those are kind of going to be the guys that are under the radar. They're going to have really strong years for us to be, at the level we want to be.
About leads into my next question, and I know there's a few guys that staff is excited about, and just that you guys have had around, and you've had the chance to be watching for a little bit now. But who do you think is a potential breakout guy?
I think breakout guy, Ace Buckner, right? Like I said, our 224s, I think, are grossly underrated. And that's not casting shade on anybody, so don't take that personally, Max. But I think they're both high major kids, right? Like you watch Ace, he's got the pedigree. Dad played at Clemson, played in the NBA for 10 years. Dad's the associate head coach for the Cleveland Cavs. So the kid's been around the game. But he's just got a good burst, which you can't teach, right? He can get to the paint. He knows how to play out of a ball screen. He can shoot that thing. He had, he showed some glimpses of it down at Peach Jam or Peach Invitational, I guess. But he's really, really talented. I think he's really coming to his own. And defensively, he can really guard the basketball and disrupt and pick up full court, pick a guy's pocket and get a bunch of deflections. So I think he's poised for a breakout year. And we're on him because we know he's super talented. And like a lot of these young guys, sometimes they all have moments where they kind of just want to chill. But as you know, Max, like if you want to be really good at this and when you're trying to beat Montbirds of the world, right? Like you can't chill. So, but I'm excited about him this upcoming year.
Every program is a little bit differently. It works a little bit different heading into the fall. What's just your guys' strategy and mindset with that?
Yeah, keep it fresh, right? It's a long year, right? It's they come here in August and they're here until May. We start our games November. I think our first home game is November 3rd. So we try to structure it like a college program where, we'll start official team practices end of September, have some scrimmages in October against some post-grad programs and a couple of junior colleges just to play against some older guys. And then once November hits here, we play about, I think, 31 games. So max of what you can do in a college regular season. And then when our season ends, these guys go right into travel ball. So it's trying to keep it fresh, right? Just because it's a long year. So, we took the guys over to Notre Dame, played pickup over there. Every Wednesday we go up to the dunes, just 25 minutes away, run the sand dunes, which is good team building. And just gets. And there are a couple of days where we're just going to mix in. Guys think we'll do a basketball workout. We'll play wiffle ball. We'll play football. Just to have fun with it. And then, but right now, basketball wise, it's just all a bunch of skill work, right? Especially shooting. That's a big emphasis for us in the off season, making sure we're getting 300 catch and shoot or 300 game shots a day if we can, depending on what the skill workout is. And then also we just like to let our guys play open gym so they can start building that familiarity, developing that chemistry. And then us as coaches, it just allows us to kind of get a better feel for where guys are at. Because you have an idea of where they're at, watching them in the spring and summer, getting to know them. But you also kind of watch them for a couple weeks and, get an idea of how a guy processes information, how a guy learns best. And then we can kind of cater our practice plans and programming to each guy's specific needs.
Totally. Indiana basketball culture, something I definitely wanted to ask you about every year at the LaPorte Invitational. And over the last few years, there's fans from IU, Notre Dame, a ton of fans just from college programs coming to watch, hopefully their future guys, and even going to random games on like Tuesday nights at public schools. It's massive arenas with packed crowds, everything like that. So what do you think just makes it different than anywhere else in terms of playing in Indiana?
Just the history of it, right? Obviously, you get the movie Hoosiers. But I mean, I think there's one state left, and that's Kentucky, that does one giant state championship, right? Where if you're the smallest school, you have a chance to win the thing, right? Indiana, I think back in like 96, they moved to the class system.
Yeah.
But before that, they were selling out the Hoosier Dome, right? 40,000 people to go watch a high school state championship game, which is wild. And that history hasn't gone anywhere, right? So I think it's just people like the underdog story, but wintertime, they love to go watch basketball, right? They love to go watch their local high school, support their local teams. And yeah, like when you come to the LaPorte Invitational, it's a gym that was built in the 1920s. It holds like 1,200 people. It's a historic gym. When you kind of walk into the gym, it's a throwback gym just tucked away in the neighborhood. It's kind of very unassuming, but you walk in there and you can feel the aura of just like high school basketball and the history in the gym. It's fun when you got all of our conference teams in there competing, and you got people from all throughout the state and the Midwest, for that matter, coming to watch these kids. It's pretty special.
Absolutely, no doubt, my favorite event of the year.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, we're obviously biased, but we love it as the local community.
Absolutely. Obviously had a ton of talent, ton of good players come through Lumiere the last few years. Has to ask, Mount Rushmore of guys you've coached at 𝘼aximizing.
Ooh, that's tough. I think it probably changes by the day, but I don't know if I have a Mount Rushmore, but there are a couple guys in terms of just what they meant to our program, in terms of the toughness and leadership and wanting to win, and kind of having that will to help just make everyone around them better. So like Isaiah Stewart falls in that category. Paxton Wojcik, who just graduated from Brown. Now he's at North Carolina. Wasn't an All-American, but man, he was a tough dude who made everyone around him better and competed. Tiger Campbell, he was here for 3 years, and when he got here, he went to back-to-back Geico national championships, and just, talk about a true point guard in the essence of the word. Dude didn't care about scoring, but he would make everyone around him better and get guys the ball on time, on target. So if you talk to the guys who were fortunate enough to play with Tiger, they'll probably tell you that he was their favorite point guard. So that's 3. I'm trying to think who the 4th might be. I'm trying in my time here. Guy by the name of Brandon Cyrus, right? He was here for 2 years, and same thing. He was just a tough dude who would do whatever it took to win. So, those are just 4 names that come to mind. 4 guys that I just enjoyed working with every single day. Because they were guys that, when they stepped onto the court, they cared and prioritized winning, right, and making their teammates better. But yeah, we've been blessed to have a lot of talent. Jaron, Jordan, Brian Bowen. The list goes on and on. But yeah, I think those 4 guys definitely hold a place in my heart because they just wanted to win. And even some of the recent guys like Kebajai, Taj Manning, JJ, like those guys, Chisa Mokpara, like those dudes, they went through it their junior year, where we kind of got our butt kicked a little bit. And their senior year, we had a really, really strong year. So, the guys that you kind of go through some tough times with, and they stick it out, and, tough times as a junior, and their senior year, you kind of see them flourish. Like that's what it's all about.
It's a long list of good players for sure.
Yeah, we've been lucky, man. Like I said, we've been fortunate enough to work with high character kids and kids that want to get better. So it makes the job all worth it.
Absolutely. To wrap it up here, essentially wanted to ask, you've talked a little bit about your program, talk about different things that you guys pride yourself on. What do you think separates 𝘼aximizing from other elite programs, just in terms of how you guys build and what kind of sets you apart?
Yeah, no, I think, we just try to be ourselves, right? We're not trying to reinvent the wheel. Like it's our players' program, right? It's not my program. It's not Shane Hireman's program, who was the coach before me, or Alan Huss's program, right? It's our school's program, right? So it's our school's program and the players' program. So we want our players to own it, right? We want them to have the ownership in this, right? We want them to take pride in it, just like all the other great programs that we compete against. But we're going to be intentionally tough, right? Like morning lifts, or you're in the gym at 5:30. right? Which is not, it's sometimes new for some of these kids. Sometimes it's not, but it's not easy. And then Max, I mean, I know you're up this way. Winter is not fun, but it kind of makes you tougher, right? Like it gives you that edge and that mentality. But I think just the daily approach of just getting better every single day, right? Holding our guys to a high standard in the classroom, in the community. And I love the fact that our school, these guys they're students, right? They're high school boys, right? There's going to be ups, there's going to be downs. But we got the infrastructure in place here as a school to support all of our students. And our players see that, right? They're not just basketball players. They're here for the development of the whole person. That's what we tell their families when they're coming here. We're going to help develop their son into a young man. The basketball piece is going to take care of itself, but all the other stuff that goes into helping these guys be prepared for life beyond high school and life beyond college, like that's why I love this place, because we really do invest in our kids to become the best versions of themselves.
Coach Holmes, thank you very much for taking the time. I know it's a busy stretch here. Looking forward to seeing the guys here pretty soon, and good luck this season.
No, thanks, Max. I appreciate, like I said, all you do, and appreciate the time. And yeah, just let us know when you want to drop on in, watch an open gym, because we always love getting your input.
Thank you.